Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. How are we doing today, guys?
We're doing great. I know someone is extremely happy about the subject that we're about to start the show with today. It's very near and dear to his heart.
Yes, that's why I have bad news for Shannon Sharpe and great news for me and our viewers. We are going to start this show talking about Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Take it away, Jenny.
All right. How about that for a setup? We are going to do it. We are going to talk all things Michael Jordan because we are all patiently awaiting the release of the Last Dance documentary, talking about his final year with the Bulls. And just this morning, Michael Jordan said that last season in Chicago was a trying year. He also said that GM Jerry Krause told Phil Jackson that the team could go 82-0, but he'd still not get the chance to come back. And Michael Jordan was not going to play without being coached by Phil Jackson. Skip, you were there. Could you believe this was happening?
Jenny, Shannon, 1998, I was the columnist for the Chicago Tribune. It was the greatest year of my career, and yet it was the most astounding of my career because what I was seeing unfold right before my very eyes. And remember, I had witnessed Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones falling apart after winning 2 Super Bowls together in Dallas, and this topped that. And lately, obviously, we've seen what happened between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I believe this topped even that. I got to know that year Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson and a guy named Jerry Krause. Jerry Krause, for those who don't know or don't remember, was a chubby little guy with an ego even bigger than Michael Jeffrey Jordan's. Jerry Krause had played a little high school baseball growing up in Chicago and had started basically as a baseball scout in the White Sox organization owned by Jerry Reinsdorf, who also owned the Chicago Bulls. For reasons nobody could figure out, Jerry Reinsdorf elevated Jerry Krause to be the GM of Michael Jordan's Bulls. Jerry Krause did not draft Michael Jordan. He came the year after Rod Thorne drafted Michael in '84. Jerry Krause started in '85. And as slowly but surely the thing grew into the Bulls dynasty, Jerry Krause came to despise Phil Jackson because Phil Jackson had little to no respect for this little guy who thought, as Phil told me, he thinks he's the alpha of this dynasty? What? He's out of his mind. So Phil would openly ridicule little Jerry Krause in front of everybody to the point that when they signed their last one-year deal, as Jenny read, Jerry Krause told Phil Jackson, you could go 82-0 next year and I ain't bringing you back. Well, guess what? Michael Jordan had pledged public allegiance to Phil Jackson. If he goes, I go. And Shannon, I just couldn't believe that Michael was going to actually quit if, in fact, Jerry Krause actually fired Phil Jackson and prematurely blew up the dynasty. But you know and I know that's exactly what happened. And it got so bad that the summer going into that Last Dance year, that's what Phil called it, the Last Dance, Jerry Krause's daughter got married in Chicago, and he had the audacity to invite Tim Floyd, the coach at Iowa State that everybody knew Jerry loved and wanted to bring in as the Bulls coach, to the wedding and did not invite Phil Jackson to the wedding. That's how bad it got. And yet, Shannon, I still couldn't believe Michael was actually going to quit over this, and he did. And my final point to you, Shannon, and then I'll hand it to you, is that 2 weeks after the season ended, with obviously the last shot, holding the pose at Utah in Game 6, 6th championship, 6th MVP in the finals for Michael Jordan, I was walking with Michael in a Pro-Am golf tournament that he was playing in Chicago. He asked me to come inside the ropes with him, and on one of the holes, on a par 5, he hit his tee shot into a fairway bunker, and ask his caddy for his 3-wood. And Shannon, you know enough about golf through your older brother, Sterling, to try to hit a 3-wood out of a fairway bunker is a really hard golf shot. And I said to him, Michael, that's a tough one. And Michael said to me, no, it's not tough. I'll just imagine that the ball is Jerry Krause's face. It came to that. I'm going to hit that. And by the way, Michael nailed the shot and almost made it in 2 shots to the green because he's envisioning I'm going to whack Jerry Krause in the face on my golf ball. That's how bad it got in 1998 in Chicago.
Well, Skip, you were there, and we heard the same things, that no matter what had transpired, that they weren't coming back, that 2 3-peats was not going to be enough for Phil Jackson to retain his job. And Michael Jordan has said, I'm not playing for another coach. Now, Skip, at the time, I had only met Michael Jordan once, but I didn't really know a whole lot about him, hadn't spent a lot of time, and didn't know a whole lot of people. But after being around him just a little bit, knowing people that spend a lot of time, I am absolutely not surprised he didn't come back. Skip, you know one thing about that man. That man is stubborn as a mule, as a bull. And once he tells you something, or once he says he dislikes you, he has nothing else to do with you. If he feels you've crossed him, Skip, remember when Charles Barkley criticized him, not the player, but criticized like, Mike, you got too many yes men around you. That was it. Done. He and Charles have been friends, play golf together, go to Vegas, yada, yada, yada. That was it. But, Skip, the thing is that what we see, and you're older than I am, and so you covered sports and you know things about dynasties. The thing that kept the Bulls together from a player standpoint is that nobody thought they were Michael Jordan's equal. What broke the Warriors up, Skip, we're going to talk about this a little later, was the infighting, and that KD didn't feel he was getting the praise and adulation that Steph Curry got. Kyrie and LeBron. Kyrie felt he was on a level with LeBron. He wanted to show he can lead his own team. Kobe and Shaq. Well, Michael never had that. Scottie Pippen and Rodman and B.J. Armstrong, none of those guys felt there was Jordan equal. But there was someone that felt he was the equal as far as the general manager and was not getting the credit that he deserved. And that was Jerry Krause. And normally, Skip, what happens is general manager and owner, or coach and owner. We don't really never see it get to this level like this, where we're having a level of success that's really unprecedented outside of maybe the 60 Celtics. And then as you mentioned, Jerry Krause couldn't have been much more than 5'3", 5'4", rotund, and all of a sudden, you want the credit? Not one. You didn't take one dribble. You didn't take one shot. You didn't take on one screen, fight over the top of a screen, and you want credit. I've never seen anything like it, Skip. I had never seen, and I still haven't to this day, seen a general manager that basically sits up in the stand. Jerry West, and we know a lot of the general managers, from Jerry West to Ozzie Newsome in different sports. Skip, they sit, Theo Epstein, they sit up in the stands and they're fine. But Jerry Krause wanted the credit, Skip, because he knows this. They chronicle dynasties. And he wanted to be chronicled in a favorable manner. Well, I put this together. And Skip, he went out of his way. If Michael Jordan says, we need a T-shirt, he went and bought a jock strap. If Michael Jordan said, we need a Gatorade, he went and bought Coca-Cola. That's how he was. It was like he did things in spite of Mike. I've never seen anything like it.
And Shannon, you played pro football for a long time, and you played for 2 different franchises, 2 different owners.
Correct.
And yet you saw your friends on other teams, and you saw how the game is really played off the field, the big business that can be pro sports. It still starts at the top. It starts with a Jerry Reinsdorf, owner of White Sox and Bulls, making the choice, the decision to say, I'm going to put little Jerry Krause, because I get a kick out of Jerry. He's kind of like me. We're kind of brothers. We're kind of birds of a feather from Chicago. We came up the hard way together. And he said, I'm going to put little Jerry Krause in charge of the Bulls, and I'm going to give him full authority. He can hire, he can fire, he can trade, he can do whatever he wants to run the Chicago Bulls. I will not interfere. He has full autonomy to pull the plug on that dynasty. Jerry Reinsdorf allowed that little man with that huge overblown ego to prematurely end what I think was the greatest dynasty. We're going to debate this a little later in the show. But he pulled the plug on it and got away with it over personal differences with a coach who publicly ridiculed him in front of other front office staffers and humiliated him. So he was allowed to do that, and that's the essence to me of pro sports. Michael Jordan, to me, was the greatest player ever. You think it's LeBron, I think it's Michael, but as a performer, he was something. I keep thinking back what Stephon Marbury said a couple days ago, that he was not from the earth. That's how I viewed him in 1998, getting to know him, being around him on a daily basis. And to think that this is the way pro sports work, that little guy sitting up in that office who barely played high school baseball can prematurely end the dynasty and the career of Michael Jordan, that's it. It was enlightening to me. It was an awakening for me. It was sad to me that in the end is how it was going to work. And yet, to your point, whether you call it pride or stubborn pride, Michael Jordan stuck by his guns, and he did not play basketball for 3 years after that because he was Phil's guy. And if Phil's gone, I'm gone. And Phil went on, obviously, to coach the Lakers, and Michael did not go on to play again for 3 years until he went to the Wizards late.